Opinions suck. You got an opinion? Fuck you. This is the internet. You're not allowed an opinion. You got an opinion that's different from everyone else on the internet? Fuck you. Is what I would say if I had opinions that generally align with the greater populace, but I've noticed throughout my 16 years or so of being a quote-unquote gamer that my opinions are a little out there. I don't agree with people. Agreeing with people is for losers. You gotta stand up for yourself and have your own opinions, man. And that's what this video is all about. In celebration of 10,000 subscribers, I'm gonna share with you 10 opinions on gaming of mine that might be considered unpopular. Just so you know, of course, if you don't agree with my opinions, even though I called you a loser only a few seconds ago, that is totally fine. Everyone has the right to their own opinions. Picking on people because they don't share the same views as you is flat out despicable. Also, fun fact, remember my old avatar? You know, the Phoenix Wright thing pointing and looking at nothing? All you bastards saying, "The new avatar sucks, I don't like change." We'll get to see him again because he was originally only created for top 10 lists. So that's a thing you know now. It has nestled into your brain, pushing out some other unnecessary information like trigonometry or your children's names or something. So I hope you're happy. Anyway, let's get on with my top 10 unpopular gaming opinions. Starting with... a mechanic that seems to be popping up a lot in games lately is crafting. You know, find a whole bunch of resources so you can stitch them together and create something new. And I can't say I'm the biggest fan. When crafting, cooking, alchemy, and such are done right, I don't mind them. It's when you have to go out and find a useless bunch of twigs or mushrooms or bits of rock that are completely useless on their own that I start to dislike it. Take for example Dragon Quest VIII's alchemy system. It's simple. Almost all the ingredients you'll use in alchemy are items that are already useful on their own. Alchemy simply allows me to use these old items to make something better. You can use cow shit and molds and stuff to make cheese and whatever else, but I couldn't care less about that and the game couldn't either. I'm not punished at all for not knowing how to make a cold cheese. On the off chance that an item is designed specifically for alchemy, then there are so few of these that it's hard to get confused about it. And if I don't feel like making anything, store-bought weapons will suffice. Breath of the Wild's cooking is also quite good. I can pop almost anything in the pot and something good will come of it. Half the fun is just tossing in random items and seeing what you come up with. But again, I don't necessarily need to be constantly cooking stuff. Meanwhile, in Minecraft, half the game is crafting. I get it, it's in the title for God's sake, but I just find it boring and unintuitive. And games that shoehorn it in are just as bad, if not worse. For example, why does Rage have crafting? It's an FPS, not a sprawling RPG.
This game is fucking brown and everyone else in it is fucking brown.
And why are you, the hero, even doing any crafting in the first place? You're the hero. Your job is to go off and fight legendary dragons or save the galaxy from an impending alien threat. Why you gotta waste your time walking around picking flowers, whacking your sword with a rock, or tying a pair of scissors to a baseball bat, which I'm concerned how few people question this. The thing is, looking at the ground and picking things up is punishment for committing crimes in some countries. So why are we paying money to do it virtually? Alright, here's a bit of a strange one. One of the worst things about being a gamer is getting hyped for new releases, then seeing them finally being released to a lukewarm or outright mediocre reception. I know I was burned very recently with Need for Speed Payback, a game that was almost actually playable but was completely ruined by an economy that revolved around loot boxes and low-key gambling. That shit sucks, but when a game comes out and it's the most broken and hilarious thing in the world, I can't even be mad. Bad games are a guilty pleasure of mine, and I'm not even talking about a particular kind of bad. I'm not talking like Destiny bad. I'm talking Sonic 06 bad, Ride to Hell bad, Ninja Bread Man bad, Phoenix Games bad. Sometimes there's nothing more fun than shoving a dog turd into your console and destroying it from the inside out just so you can experience some funny glitches or terrible writing. It is a strangely cathartic experience, almost like watching a really bad movie like The Room or The Dark Knight Rises, which I saw in theaters and had to resist bursting out laughing on several occasions. Seriously, it's a comedy. Rewatch it sometime, you'll see what I mean. But playing bad games are a very cathartic experience for me. They bring out so much joy. No matter how frustrating Sonic 06's bugs and glitches and general level design may be, all the stupid shit more than makes up for it. The mentally challenged whale at the start of the game, Shadow's amazing kick to Silver's head, Elise fulfilling her dreams with performing an act of bestiality, Sonic's incredibly powerful and emotional performance.
Elise!
I've got a shelf full of Wii shovelware games that's slowly growing bigger. My dream is to one day be able to fill this entire shelf with crappy shovelware and games that had about 3 minutes worth of QA testing. That is my dream. I think this one is a little hard to justify fully, but I don't care. You know that little that pops up whenever you get an achievement or a trophy or whatever. I find that to be oh so satisfying. Simply put, I love achievements and trophies. I think they're a great way to add a bit of longevity to a game that otherwise might be very short, for example by asking the player to play a game in a different way, or finding a bunch of well-hidden collectibles, or performing amazing feats. Right now, for example, despite the fact that Forza 7 is out, I still find myself returning to Forza 4 so I can get that one illustrious achievement, which requires you to earn a gold medal on all 1300-ish races. As of now, I've finished just under 60% of them. Yeah, it's tough, but Forza is fun enough that I don't mind returning to it on occasion, and I think it will be cool to have proof that I finished all of these races on my profile. That's not to say the achievement system is perfect, mind you. I'd stop short of calling myself an achievement whore, as I have little interest in going after achievements that are excruciatingly difficult or annoying for the sake of it, and some achievements are just straight up patronizing. Whoa, I got an achievement for a headshot! How about that? I got a trophy for buying my first upgrade. Oh my gosh, I just got an achievement for scratching my fucking ass. Achievements can also be used for the sake of a joke, most notably the trophies for Undertale that came out recently for PS4 and Vita, or trophies for games like The Simpsons game or Eat Lead: The Return of Matt Hazard, which cheekily reward you for pausing the game. But otherwise, when achievements are done well, they'll keep me playing a game for much longer than I otherwise would have. Of course, whether a game has achievements or not doesn't affect whether I buy a game or not. I mean, I was a little disappointed that Nintendo decided not to jump onto the achievement craze with the Switch, but that didn't stop me from buying games for it, and I do think the system could be improved upon. Maybe give us a way to display our best achievements like Steam does, or give us rewards for getting them. And no, some stupid shirt for your avatar doesn't count. Now, I'm probably extremely unqualified to be talking about Sonic the Hedgehog. Oi! Get your fingers off that fucking keyboard, you haven't even heard what my opinion is yet. I'm not a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. I think he's got a cool design, and I think Tails is the most pure boy in existence, and the soundtrack for almost every Sonic game is fucking amazing, even Sonic 06, and to be fair, I fully understand why these games are so popular. Okay, but no, I get it. They're good games. Some of them at least. I do like some of them. Generations was cool, Unleashed was fun, if poorly paced, and that includes the Werehog bits, and the 2 All-Stars racing games we got actually put up a fight against Mario Kart. Notice a trend here though? Yeah, not a single one of these games is a pure 2D Sonic game. I mean, Generations has 2D parts, I guess. I mean, look, I don't like 2D Sonic games, okay? I can't stand them. I know deep down in my heart that they're good games, but I cannot bring myself to enjoy them. I know that Sonic's main character trait is that he can run fast, but I think these games are too fast to be enjoyable on any other level than, oh wow, he's so fast. The camera is too zoomed in and it's hard to tell where you're going, where you're gonna land, what's in front of you. Like, I get it, but I don't get it. If that makes sense. I even got to play Sonic Mania recently, and while I'm super impressed with what they managed to accomplish, and that opening animation is real swish, I just can't. I'm sorry guys, I can't. I'm canting so hard right now. At least with the 3D Sonic games, you can see where you're going most of the time. In the 2D Sonic games, I feel like I may as well just turn the TV screen off and just press buttons until I win or lose. There's probably something I'm missing, I might be playing them the wrong way or something, but I still can't bring myself to enjoy them regardless. If you like Sonic then, of course my opinion shouldn't affect yours, but I don't know, fuck it, leave a comment, dislike the video, I clearly have no idea what I'm talking about. Originally, this spot was dedicated to the Wii U gamepad, which I felt was the most underappreciated controller on the market. But then I realized I had way more unpopular opinions about controllers and gamepads than I thought, so I'm just gonna dedicate this slot to all those controller opinions. The Wii U gamepad is my second favorite controller of all time. It's big, bulky, and satisfying to use, and I played almost the entirety of Xenoblade Chronicles on the gamepad screen alone. The only thing it needs is analog triggers. However, every other Nintendo controller sucks. The Wii Remote defined a gaming generation, and rarely for the better. The Wii U Pro controller honestly feels like arse to me for some reason. The Nintendo 64 remote is actually god-awful, and I don't understand how anyone ever played with that stupid thing without jumping in radioactive waste and growing a deformed third arm. And don't even get me started on the GameCube controller. I mean, the whole thing is like fucking Lego. And what the fuck are those triggers? They're the loudest thing ever conceived. And it's even got a plus button for some reason. Oh, wait, no, I've just been informed that's the D-pad. I do like the Joy-Cons with the grips though. I was a little iffy about them at first, but after some time with Super Mario Odyssey, I think it's my favorite way to play the Switch, even with my gigantic bulbous Lana Kane hands. Sony? Pfft, fuck Sony. The PS1 and PS2 remotes were fine for their time, but the PS3 shipped with almost literally the same controller, with the only difference being the convex triggers, which are actually literally the worst. Playing Gran Turismo with these things sucks because keeping them held down to accelerate is very hard on your finger. PS4 remote's good, in fact it's probably my third favorite controller, but who the hell made the analog sticks outies instead of innies? Keyboard and mouse? Oh my god, just don't even. What was a keyboard designed for? Yeah, fucking word processing, not moving your character precisely through shitty first-person platforming sections. Honestly, how does anyone use WASD to move in the first place? And maybe a mouse is more accurate for first-person games, but I just don't get it. It doesn't feel satisfying to use at all. And I don't know how unpopular this opinion is, but the Xbox One S remote is the best remote ever made. So good and tasty. Recently, I bought a Hat in Time, one of the best 3D platformers on the market. At first, I was a little sad that because my laptop is as powerful as a blender with two 8GB RAM sticks taped to it, that I was limited to playing at 30 FPS, while almost everyone else got to play it at around 60. But then I remembered that I couldn't give less of a shit. Yep, I'm one of those douchebags that doesn't mind 30 FPS. Now, I know some games need 60 FPS, such as fighting games that require inhuman reflexes, or twitchy shooters like Call of Duty. Games also do look better in 60 FPS, and it's not like whenever I look at a game that is in 60 FPS, I scoff and say, "Oh, that is simply too smooth for my tastes. Oh, disgusting." But if a game can only manage 30 frames a second, then I'm totally fine with it. I didn't need 60 FPS in A Hat in Time, or Forza Horizon 3, or Ratchet and Clank PS4, where I thought that even though the frame rate didn't matter to me, I thought the lower frame rate contributed to making the game look like an animated movie, which is exactly the aesthetic they were going for. I'm not saying it would have been worse if it was 60 FPS, I'm just saying I think it looked great anyway. The only time it becomes unacceptable is when it drops below 30, or even fluctuates between 30 and 60. The chief offender I can think of here is Borderlands 2, which even on Xbox One, always dips to around 30, sometimes lower. Otherwise, if you can maintain a stable 30 FPS, then I am totally fine with that. There are more important areas of the game to focus on, if I'm being honest. Like, you know, the gameplay? For as long as man can remember, two tyrants have waged war against each other, Microsoft and Sony. Microsoft's Xbox 360 and Sony's PlayStation 3 went to battle, but the battle had been won before it even began. Because the PlayStation 3 is fucking trash. Look, yes, I know PS3 has better exclusives. Yeah, you're probably right. The PS3's games were incredible, but the console powering them is honestly about as user-friendly as a Hadron Collider if a PS3 controller were plugged into it. Let me tell you of my experience installing Gran Turismo 6. After buying it on the world's worst storefront, which required me to scroll through a vertical list of letters instead of a keyboard like every other console in existence, I had to wait for the download to prepare before I could set it to download in the background. Once the download was done, I had to wait for it to install, which took about 30 minutes. I thought, yes, I can finally play my game. Or so I thought, because updating a game on the PS3 is just... Unlike other downloads, you can't do anything else while an update is downloading, and in GT6's case, the update was around, well, there were 10 updates that were between 500 megabytes and 2.5 gigs, so roughly 10 gigabytes probably. Oh, but then after that's all said and done, the game itself brings up another dialog box saying that it's installing game files. What? Fuck me, and I thought PC games were convoluted enough. And that's not even the end of it. I mentioned before that I hate the controller, and that still stands, to the point where I had to buy trigger grips to make it more comfortable. The cross-menu bar is slow and unresponsive, and when you have dozens of games downloaded like I do, it's a pain in the poofle valve trying to find a particular one sometimes. Multi-platform games tend to run worse on the PS3, as is evident with the release of games like Bayonetta. It has the ability to play music in the background, but only on certain games, and sometimes, such as with Test Drive Unlimited 2, a game that sorely needed it, it doesn't work. It has HDCP permanently enabled, meaning if you want to capture footage, then you're stuck capturing at 720p using component cables, which is why my Ratchet and Clank videos look like utter shit half the time. Whenever you turn on your PS3, SingStar is always there, greeting you like an ugly mole on your friend's face. And honestly, what is this design? Why would you design a CD tray like this? Look how easy it is to pop it open. I don't even have to press the eject button. Fuck me. Bad PlayStation. Bad. No ice cream for you tonight, young man. Let's talk about open world games. Now, I like a good open world sandbox style game to mess around in every now and then. In fact, a few months ago, I finished Watch Dogs and ended up probably enjoying it more than most people did. Some of the missions were creative enough to keep me interested, and as someone who hates seeing sad or lonely kids, I found myself at least somewhat interested in the outcome of Aiden's nephew, Jax. But what was I doing between every story mission? The same thing. Over and over again, chasing criminals, stopping convoys, doing countless side missions over and over again for the sake of seeing my completion rate slowly climb up. Busy work, filler, whatever you want to call it, it's what makes me avoid playing open world games very often. There's also a very copy-paste feel to them, like missions have just been copied and pasted dozens of times over to artificially lengthen playtime. But with a more linear or semi-linear experience, like say The Last of Us or Final Fantasy or fuck dude, even Call of Duty, I'm not only less likely to cry tears of boredom, but I'm gonna remember that game. In a linear game, levels have been crafted in a particular way that just makes them feel so much more memorable, which is strange, because I'm probably only going to go through a level once. Whereas with an open world game, I'm doing a constant back and forth between points on my map while driving through the same city 100 bloody times. Which is more memorable, the dull grey skyscrapers of Watch Dogs Chicago, or Ratchet and Clank's Metropolis, one of the most memorable levels in 3D platforming history? Do you remember any single part of Saints Row Steelport? No? How about the time you strolled through the ruins of Zanarkand from Final Fantasy X? Remember any of the roads in Sleeping Dogs' rendition of Hong Kong? No? How about your first run through Bob-omb Battlefield? I mean, okay, yes, open world games have their memorable moments. I mean, I never finished GTA 5, but pretty much every time Trevor appeared on screen is still fresh in my mind. And the opening missions of Sleeping Dogs are memorable to me because I remember how visceral and impactful the combat was. But most of them, prior to examples included, are as equally interested in you continuing the story as they are making you partake in copy-paste side missions. One of the open world games I feel did this right was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Though its gameplay has dated a little, almost everything you did was new and unique, and contributed to your progress in some way. There wasn't some checklist tucked away in the pause menu telling you to finish 50 burglary missions and 35 firefighter missions, and even though you had to do everything to get 100%, it wasn't shoved in your face in any way. It was yours to discover for yourself. You could charge through the game or run about the map and discover a whole bunch of side content that didn't feel like the developers were lazily copying and pasting everything. A lot of games nowadays are open world games with hundreds of side missions, and I don't mind these games in particular, but I'd happily welcome AAA developers bringing more linear experiences back to us. And this doesn't mean I hate semi-open games like Zelda or 3D Mario games that have linear or set PC levels, but also some degree of freedom to them. I love them just as much as linear games, because everything you experience still feels deliberate and carefully crafted. I just kinda miss when games weren't all about trotting around in the same big open world for 50 hours ticking things off a list. Sometimes I don't want to explore an open world and make my own fun. Sometimes I just want the game to make the fun for me. Now this is where we separate the kids from the big boys. This is where you get to know exactly what kind of gamer I am. Am I a PC gamer or a console gamer? Now, I've never truly understood why everyone gets so pissy whenever someone swings one way instead of the other. Everyone has different preferences when it comes to gaming. Everyone plays differently. Instead of being divided because of what we choose to play games on, why are we not instead united? Why can we not all enjoy games together, regardless of taste? Having said that, I prefer console gaming. Yep, saw that coming. Even though I fully understand the merits of PC gaming, I choose to play on a console. I know PCs can output some amazing visuals, I know they can do higher frame rates, I know all about mods and modding communities, and I know that Steam is our lord and savior and bringer of fantastic sales. But I don't give a fuck. Bringing up a hat and time again, I had to go through a fair amount of effort just to get it to work properly. Hooking up my PS4 controller was a right pain in the ass, even though it had worked perfectly on previous occasions, and I had to fiddle around with the graphics for about half an hour until I found a decent balance between stable frame rate and the game not looking like a PS1 launch title. I know A Hat in Time isn't out on console yet, but if it were, all I'd need to do to play it is download it and that's it. No controller issues, and unless the developer is dumber than a hand in a shoe, the game will be optimized to run without a hitch. Obviously a better PC would alleviate some of these problems, but I've had so many issues with simply running games regardless of how powerful my PC might have been at the time. The only reason why I caved in is because even though mod support isn't something I'm particularly interested in, the allure of a 3D platformer having mod support and a level editor was enough to get me to throw money at the screen. But overall, console gaming is, despite a few annoyances here and there, a a much more pleasant gaming experience to me. Sitting in a computer also feels like work, and I'd rather kick back on a comfy couch or park my rump on my bed and play console games instead. I know, I'm weird. I fully concede that PC gaming is inherently better than console gaming, but console gaming is much more accessible, more pleasant, and the price of entry is much cheaper. And don't give me none of that sass about how PCs are so easy and cheap to build. You could buy an Xbox One with 3 games for $279 only 3 weeks ago, and games are regularly on sale for well less than $20. So stick your fucking Titan GTX 1080 i7 DDR4 whatever up your ass. But don't, because you can actually play whatever you want and I won't judge, just like you shouldn't judge me for having weird opinions. Unless you're a mobile gamer. Fuck off. Before we get into number 1, let's get into some other unpopular opinions that couldn't quite make the list, mostly because these are unrelated to video games in any way, shape or form. Marshmallows are gross. Ferraris are hideous cars. iPhones are actually unusable. Android Master Race, yo. Mario Kart's battle mode is boring as fuck. Oops, that's gaming related. Attack on Titan is actually kinda lame. The fact that no one loves his squishy electric lumps saddens me. Oxenfree is boring, to be honest. Oops, I did it again, oh well. The Stage is Avenged Sevenfold's best album, and Brooks Wackerman is a better drummer than the Rev. Bakugo is a terrible and unredeemable character. Home and Away is watchable. I hate Instagram and Vine comedians, but this video is the funniest fucking thing in the world. And please don't try and talk to me if I'm walking along the bike track wearing bright orange headphones, because that is very awkward for both of us. I mean, that's not really an unpopular opinion, just don't do it. Any old people out there? You don't have to say hello to everybody you see. Keep your warm and welcoming greetings to yourself, you selfish wrinkly little fuckers.
Holy shit, you guys, I can't believe it's fucking time for number 1.
Haha, aha. Oh no. I am a self-proclaimed massive Pokemon fan. I've been playing it for 17 years. I've played every generation. My shelf is filled with Pokemon plushies. My addiction to Pokemon was so bad at one point, when my mum gave me money to spend at a Target toy sale one time, she said, "You are not allowed to buy any Pokemon stuff." I bought Pokemon stuff. Hell, I mean, this is a little hard to just come out and say. I wrote Pokemon fanfiction at one point. It was 46 chapters and 160,000 words long. Everyone turned into Pokemon for no reason, and the main character was named Aaron. There were Gurren Lagann and Archer references for no reason. Maybe I'll do a video on it one day when I want to purposefully sabotage my career on YouTube. Why did I even bring this up? Goodbye, old friend. You will be missed. Anyway, my unpopular Pokemon opinion isn't something stupid like, Charizard is actually really crap, or X and Y were the best games. I mean, this is my number 1 unpopular opinion, it's gotta be something juicy. Well, folks, truth be told, even though I love Pokemon and I will continue to buy Pokemon games even as I grow older, the truth of the matter is, Pokemon games just aren't as good anymore. Now, before you jump into the comments calling me a filthy Gen 1er, hear me out because I have a lot to say. Pokemon Crystal was one of my favorite games growing up. It was a joy to explore. It had so many cool Pokemon. It has one of the best OSTs of any game I've ever played. Put simply, I think it, and its remake to an extent, are the best Pokemon games bar none. I don't think a single game has lived up to what Pokemon Crystal delivered 16 years ago. And it's not even because I'm nostalgic for it. I think that newer Pokemon games are fun, but inherently flawed in so many ways. I was simultaneously hyped and disinterested in Ultra Sun and Moon, for example. There is so much useless shit that simply does not need to be there. Your Rotom Dex can give you bonus XP and money for a limited amount of time. Okay, why? I don't feel like I've earned this at all. I just click on Rotom's eyes when they flash and then I fucking get something. Yay, gameplay. Z-moves. Whoa, gosh darn, they look cool. Shame they're also insanely overpowered and make the single player a complete fucking joke in the same way that Mega Evolution did. And don't even get me started on Mega Evolution. The story. Yeah, the story was pretty neat in Sun and Moon. If you enjoy the game holding your hand for 25 hours and also reading the most patronizing, child-friendly dialogue ever seen in a video game, whoa, the battle system is pretty cool. Yeah, if you enjoy repeatedly one-hitting every single Pokemon you come across because this is essentially a glorified version of fucking rock, paper, scissors! Ultimately, my biggest issue with Pokemon right now is that even though Game Freak has injected so much depth into the combat system, it's still the easiest fucking thing on earth. Just pop out a Pokemon that counters whatever type your opponent is. Oh gee, wow, he's fucking dead. I just don't like the 1v1 format as much as I used to. And I'm not sure if that's because I've been playing these games for 3/4 of my life, or because other RPGs actually have much more thoughtful encounters that don't solely rely on elemental weaknesses. Compare something like one of the many bosses from a Final Fantasy title, in which you have to effectively manage manage your 3 or 4 party members' health and mana while firing off buffs and debuffs and status effects and whatever else, and whittling away at the enemy's health. Now compare that to Gardevoir, the strongest Pokemon on Champion Diantha's team in Pokemon X and Y. Pop out Sylveon, use Shadow Ball, boom, dead! You know, I just can't help but feel like Pokemon can be a bit lacking sometimes with stuff like this. This doesn't mean I hate the games though, far from it, in fact. Raising a team of your own cute little monsters is one of the most rewarding and personal things in gaming, and Pokemon games are more memorable for it. But I think both X and Y and Sun and Moon just left a slightly sour taste in my mouth, considering how easily I blasted through them. And this was with the EXP share off. I think if we at least had a difficulty select, then maybe I would be a lot more forgiving. I would actually be surprised if anyone agrees with this though. Turning Pokemon into a standard line dancing turn-based RPG probably isn't something anyone else thinks about, and that's fine. That's why it's an unpopular opinion. You're not supposed to agree with it, it's just a little nugget of information that probably only applies to you and eats away at your brain and makes you think, why am I like this? Honestly, having opinions sucks. For some reason in our modern society, something we don't see eye to eye on, something as menial and insignificant as a video game, can drive a wedge straight between the relationships of two people. And it's dumb. Why can we not all live in peace? Why can we not accept each other's opinions and beliefs, and instead use our differences to open up civil conversation and debate? Just because you prefer PCs over consoles and I have the opposite opinion doesn't mean we can't get along. In this age of anonymous hate, be respectful, stand up, and be the bigger man. But Bakugo is a great character. Rival characters never realize their flaws, but Bakugo— You get the fuck off my channel right now, you goddamn son of a bitch. Oh boy, heartfelt moment time. There was a lot I wanted to talk about. I had like a little fucking speech thing planned for this part of the video, but one, it's very hot in this recording booth of mine, which is just a blanket thrown over 2 chairs. 2, my throat hurts a lot. And 3, I think I'd rather save it for when I do the little update video where I explain what I'm going to do when everything wrong with Ratchet and Clank finally ends. So for now, I'd just like to just thank everyone who has subscribed. Fucking 11,000 of you, almost 12,000 now. Like when I did the original Everything Wrong with Ratchet and Clank, I think I was sitting at around 130 subscribers, I think. And now here I am, I've got this fucking legion of people following me, fucking chanting, "I don't like change." And it's honestly just a little creepy, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So I'm not gonna sit here thanking everyone and fucking boring you to tears. I'm gonna save a whole bunch of the update shit for another video. I feel it's more appropriate there, otherwise this video is going to get a bit too long. But before I go, I'd just like to thank everyone who's currently and even previously supported me on Patreon, which it's still honestly amazing to think that I'm actually getting money for doing something that I love, and that's just the thought of anybody even thinking about doing that is honestly really touching, and yeah, thank you guys so much. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed to me on YouTube, who's donating to Patreon. The other thing about Patreon actually is I want to think of some way to reward people who are currently donating. The one idea I had was Rebel Taxi, one of my favorite channels on YouTube. He used to actually, I'm sure he still does it, he does this thing, the Patreon review raffle, where everyone who donates gets their name in a raffle, and then, you know, whoever wins the raffle gets to pick whatever he reviewed, or maybe they'll get a drawing or something, or some fucking dumb shit. So I thought that might actually be a really cool idea, but I'm still sort of thinking about it right now, so I won't sort of just immediately, you know, jump on Patreon and fucking change everything, but that's something I sort of... So yeah, I'm still just sort of thinking about it right now, but yeah, like I said, thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon. It's just... Oh. I want to say some cliche crap like it means so much to me, or some fucking shit like that, but you don't come here for sappy shit like that, apart from that one time where I talked about my mum getting stabbed, which honestly, you know, having second thoughts about that video. So anyway, whatever, let's fucking end the video. Pop up the end card, like, comment, subscribe, rate 3 stars, because this is probably only a 3-star video. Support me on Patreon, follow me on Twitter, fucking check out WeebTrashXD. I'm doing some cool Clone Hero stuff on that. That's going to be happening soon. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.